If somebody wants your power, give it to them. We've got frequency harvesting. Fear, anger, and despair generate an energy that functions like currency. Some systems and entities survive by keeping you in a state that produces it. And natural disaster. Disasters are a part of the planet's renewal, even when they disrupt human plans. This is a reminder that not all disruptions are engineered. Some arise from the living pulse of the planet itself. And the first thing that came to mind when I got these two cards was that X-Men movie, Dark Phoenix. I think that might actually be the last one that they did. I don't know. I'm kind of out of the loop. But near the end of the movie, when she gives back that like extraterrestrial power that she had accidentally got from the, what was it? It was like the accident in the X-Wing, I think, trying to rescue astronauts or something. It's been a while since I've seen that movie. But that was just the vibe that I'm getting, is kind of picking up off of the Watcher reading. I wanted to look into this Crew of Cups, because all four court cards of the cup suit came out in that reading, which I've never seen happen before. And I feel like they're somehow involved in that deception, but to what effect or to what degree, I'm not sure. So we'll start getting some cards and kind of dig into that a little bit further. Because those aliens in that movie, they were shapeshifters. They took people's forms and such. So they were working like as a small collective, but deceptively, kind of behind the scenes. I think kind of mixed motivations. One, to recapture that power, but then seeing how Jean, how she handled that to kind of like convert her to their side. So we'll see. What else about this frequency harvesting and natural disaster? Revenge. I'm looking to damage you in retaliation for perceived wrongs. But it's in reverse. So a failed revenge plot? I mean, we didn't get the revenge piece as the motive in the last reading, but a failed deception, yes. And I think there was rejection brought up in that reading too. So someone wanted to get revenge for rejection in that group. Maybe they just thrive on drama, this frequency harvesting, but it's resulted in some sort of disaster. Tell me more about this disaster. What is the disaster? The world, something coming to an end. The revenge plotting. And interesting, this is a DC Tarot. This is like my detective when I want to know something. I cannot remember who this is. Like, I remember who it is, but I don't remember who this is. But that eco focus, ecological. And this also kind of brought to mind AI, because I just saw the clip of AOC with those jars of water. I mean, they are water, but they're very contaminated, but it's supposed to be drinking water. And trying to get the EPA to investigate, do like actual environmental impact. It would be studies, but now investigations, since the data centers have been sped through. So it's kind of like, what is that phrase? Damage of their own design, doom of their own design. They'll be their own downfall, because all of the negative attention that will be on them, and it was created by our attention being harnessed originally. A bit more in the macro scale, but the world here, I mean, that cycle's ending. And I think this person, this was like a transformation. I bet they're probably listed in the book, huh? What am I trying to remember? It's right here. Let's see. There we go. Nope, that's Batman. I know him. Swamp Thing. The world brings the satisfaction of knowing you are connected to all of the people, places, and things around you, just as this avatar of the green feels an innate connection with all life on Earth. You're ready to explore and become immersed in new experiences. Swamp Thing. But I don't think that's how they began. It was once a person. Don't know if that's a result of something Poison Ivy did? I don't know. But connected with all the things. Let's get another card here. Can I expand on this? Something that will be seen by many. Not only the individual, whoever Sathariel represented in the last reading, they'll be seen, but their enablers will be seen as well. Like, even if they realized that they were doing the wrong thing and then started doing the right thing, that could be a move for self-preservation. Like, they're realizing this one person is going down and they're trying to like damage control. Four of Swords in reverse. No rest. No rest for this whole group. Stressed out. It's almost like, let's say somebody wanted you to be perceived as crazy, as angry, something like that. And then it's like, okay, here's all my anger. Like, letting it out in the exact right moment. So that it's seen. Because this kind of group, this crew of cups, this be with like the throwing rocks and hiding hands. They don't want to be seen doing that. They want to control the narrative, control the perception. Even if they were just egging this person on and we didn't actually do it, still participated. They'll still be seen as like, wait a minute, you didn't intervene in this? And then further questions will be asked, like, oh, you were encouraging this, like you're part of the problem. Just because you didn't throw a rock and you told them to throw a rock, you're still part of the problem. It'd be like, because in that last example, last reading, the example was the prop knife being swapped with a real one. So it'd be like holding the person who procured the real weapon accountable, even though they didn't act with it. And even though it's totally legal to have those, they knew what this person was planning to do and they provided it anyway. It's kind of like once you leave the threshold of my shop, it's no longer my concern. Oh, it will be someday. The 3 and 4 of Wands. Oh, one's reversed, one's not. So a journey halted to a desirable end. It's like one interpretation of the 4 of Wands is the choosing of the champion that you see in the 6 of Wands. And then the 5 of Wands can be interpreted in that storyline as like training. So this is like someone who wanted to be the champion. Maybe to be like the knight in shining armor. I don't know. And that journey has been halted by figuring out that there was a real weapon and not just a prop one. But the sense that I'm getting is that any bad feelings, anything like that, are in no way, shape, or form about how this may have affected you. And I think that would be represented really in their actions. Because if this is, let's say, a long-standing situation, something like that, and there was time to apologize, but that didn't come until there were consequences, how sorry is that person? You know, it's like catching somebody reaching into the tip jar for them to, take some cash out, and then you stop them right at the last second. Well, should they get off the hook for stealing because you intervened? I don't think so. They had full intent to steal and would have had you not intervened. I think that person should be held accountable to the intent. Now, you'd have to have, like, security cameras or something like that to actually back up some sort of justification like that, because it needs to be, like, beyond a shadow of a doubt. Because those he said, she saids can get tricky when the question here is like, what really was your intent? Because we're not getting honest answers out of you. So, what was this group's intent? Like, what's their skin in this game? Are they just dickheads? Just like making other people's lives miserable? Can't watch reality TV instead of like messing with someone? What's their intent? Like, okay, that was a little sloppy, but I guess that's the one. Martial law. When civil authority is replaced by military control, freedoms shift overnight. Some will feel protected, while others feel cornered. They want to maintain power, like whatever respective power that they have. Maybe I'm going to go back to the play example from the Watcher reading. Maybe their theater was about to get sold out from under them, like financial difficulties, things like that. It's hard to keep those establishments open. But in order to drum up more business, it would have been this, like, really unaliving plot, you know, to kick up a story, to cause fervor, things like that, and having no regard for how this hurts the other person, you know, because maybe the plan was like, well, we don't actually want to unalive them, we just want to wound them, like, for the drama. You can't really control that. Bodies are gonna do what bodies are gonna do. I have no idea if that person might be, I don't know, on blood thinners or something. You shouldn't be stabbing people. This is a real thing, the real point. But so tell me more about this martial law. So this group and this individual have some stake in whatever's going on. Exploitation. I want to take advantage of your resources, connections, skills, and knowledge, but it's in reverse. The flag that's going up is like white knighting. Like doing something to create a situation that then they would be the savior for. But you wouldn't even need a savior had they not done this in the first place. But it's to maintain control. So it's almost like, I don't quite know how to ground this down into a very everyday example, but if we stick with the theater example, it'd be like if someone in the Crew of Cups knew somebody who was buying the theater. It's like layers and layers and layers of orchestration, and the deeper you look, the farther they go. And I don't know if you or whomever this represents, if this is specific to you or if this is like a wrong place, wrong time sort of deal. So what about this martial law and exploitation? Because you have to have that authoritarian attitude, approach, whatever, to exploit people, to justify, like, well, this is just the way things are because capitalism. Who cares? Like, if just the way things are leads to exploitation, do something different. It is that simple. It might be complicated in execution, but the actual, like, okay, clearly we're doing something wrong. But it depends on how you define wrong. In my mind, exploitation is wrong. But when you've got people making decisions like, well, it's just business, and again, capitalism, their justification is the bottom line. And to me, it's like, well, what bottom line? Your bottom line doesn't exist without your people. If they decide to just, like, you know what, I've had enough. Bottom of the pyramid is done building your monuments. What are you going to do? Because, yeah, there's all sorts of, like, rules about collective bargaining and things like that. Okay. If you don't have a business because your people revolted against you, who cares about the rules? Like, it's sort of a self-defeating prophecy. Knight of Pentacles, but it's in reverse. Quick. Quick action to materials. Because usually this is the slowest knight in the deck, but it's in reverse. An exploitation of martial law. Maybe that's what they were racing towards, you know, with whatever plot, drama plot, to bring in business to the theater. But it was foiled. I think foiled and found out is the vibe I'm getting. So not only was the original goal not accomplished, so the existing financial concern is going to happen anyway, now it's worse because they're getting caught as the candle flickers. And good on whomever gets them caught, honestly. Because there'll be all sorts of crocodile tears and all sorts of excuses and like, well, what about how do I provide for my family? And like, did you think about that when it was them? When you had your foot on their back and you were wiping off mud and God knows what else on them like a doormat? Nah, I bet not. You're only thinking about you. Probably not even thinking about their family. Because it's kind of one of those things that, like, when they get rich and famous, whatever, they're going to bail on their family, on their kid that they may have pressured their partner into having. 7 of Wands. Be still and know that I am God. This one came out in the last reading too. Holding your position after a victory. So, that's kind of like you realizing either right before the show or during the show, however that happened, that you have the real weapon, and then not acting gingerly about it. Actually acting with conviction when it was needed. It might come across like ruthless, but they were about to do it to you. They were about to use you for their end, for their gain, to your detriment. I have very little sympathy and empathy for somebody who acts like that, because yes, doing things the right way is harder, and it seems like this world wants to make that as impossible as possible, to do things in an honest manner. But what kind of world do you want to live in? That's the one you have to work towards. And if you want a world where honest work gets honest results, we're kind of a far way off from that right now. And it's going to take a lot of work to get there. But the more we cheat and steal and martial law and exploit, the further away we're going to get from the goal, not closer. You know, I often talk about bridging the gap between you and the thing you want. Some bridges are really big. And they take a really long time to build. So there's that. Nobody ever said it'd be easy. It's just, what's the A, what's the B, and how do we get there? Simple plan, maybe a complicated execution. Ooh, High Priestess, and that kind of popped out after that was complete. So we've got Page of Swords and Two of Swords in reverse. Student of the Mind, and this is like the spy card. So it's like they didn't get the information they were looking for, or had bad information. and acted anyway. Because in the upright, the Two of Swords is like a stalemate. But in the reverse, a decision has been made. So they acted on faulty information, which will be seen. Nothing's getting past the High Priestess. And that, like the way the card flipped out, it's kind of giving me that, like, surprise! I was here the whole time. You know, it's like the stage hand that was sitting behind the curtain and happened to see, you know, the swap of the prop knife. And just, maybe they were the ones who flipped it and just didn't say anything. And let you, whomever, act how you were going to act. It's like the High Priestess is just moving a chess piece, not completing a play, just making a move. And it changes the whole thing. It's kind of what the High Priestess does. Doesn't take a lot of effort to have, like, far-reaching effects. So what? Because I don't feel like the High Priestess is a part of this crew of cups. Because and I'm basing this on Titans, not the comic book. Raven, she is related to a demon. Her father's a demon. And I think he tried to, like, gain her allegiance. Like, she ended up living with human parents, and then later on when she was a teenager and her powers started manifesting, then he tried to, like, bring the family back together or whatever. Might have been a prophecy. I don't remember. So this is kind of like a rogue, morally gray, acting in the big picture that might be outside of the view of everybody involved. So it might not be clear why the High Priestess is doing what she does, but then it gets revealed eventually. Because I don't think anybody else was on board with Jean giving all that power back, but she kind of knew it was going to overwhelm the alien lady. Pretty sure that's what her name was. Alien lady. But what does a High Priestess see that nobody else can? What's this big picture? Because I feel like the Crew of Cups in this example that I've come up with, they own the theater. They've got stake in the theater. So what about the High Priestess? What is her interest? Or concern? What's the High Priestess concerned about? Oh, a couple of them. A few. Take that. Redistribution of wealth. And change of power. But that one's in reverse. I like the rainbow. Very pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. But redistribution of wealth. The disparity between the wealthy elite and the masses has grown too great. As old economic systems collapse, a chance arises to restore balance. Wealth once held in the hands of the few could soon flow back to the many. And change of power. Authority is changing hands, yet power rarely shifts without resistance. Expect turbulence as one influence gives way to another. This is a pivotal moment. So this is almost like that layered, the people who are going to buy the theater out from the Crew of Cups are also involved in the Crew of Cups. Like, kind of looking at it like a secret society. You think of like secret societies as like the Masons or the, what's the offshoot? The Eastern Stars. Stuff like that, like larger organizations. But secret societies can also just be cliques. Like gossipy people in the office or something that kind of run the show in a way without all of them actually being in charge, if that makes sense. And the High Priestess can see this, can maybe see that unless there's a true change of power, this redistribution of wealth can't happen. Because this one plopped out second. So it's almost like from the outside looking in, it'd be like a happy community. Like this theater is getting changed from like a private theater to a community theater, and they're going to do after school drama and stuff like that. But the High Priestess can see the connection between the groups. Like, she's not taking things at face value. It's almost like she looked into the business history or something, like the, I don't know, Better Business Bureau, things like that, and is either finding like a sordid history or an absence of history. Something like that. So what is the intention of the High Priestess? Regret? I'm disappointed with how things went with us, and I wish I could change the past. I'm almost getting the sense that this is a High Priestess who regrets not acting sooner. Someone who got a warning earlier, but didn't act until like there was a real weapon. As my ring hits the table, actually on the table. So it's like the High Priestess got, I don't know, an inkling, information that she just blew off. It'd be like blowing off a dream or something, and then that dream becoming real. So tell me more about this redistribution of wealth and such. This regret. I kind of want to know what the High Priestess maybe saw earlier and didn't act on. What was the hint? I think that's a better question. What was the hint that was ignored? 10 of Wands? That's not a hint. That's burden. That's like significant backbreaking burden. Ace of Wands and Ace of Pentacles in reverse. A burden that was preventing new beginnings. Change of power. Because Ace of Wands, it's like Kanaz, the creative flame, ideas. And when I say Kanaz, I'm referencing the Norse rune that looks like the greater than or less than. I can't remember which way it faces. Little alligator mouth. An Ace of Pentacles, that's like a new material beginning. This would be like whomever her was. Her who got the... who's supposed to have a prop knife but ended up with the real one. She had a chance to have more influence within this theater in some way. I don't know, change the direction it was going to prevent this sale like way sooner, but was ignored. Like this burden was ignored. It's like waving the flag saying, hey, like if you don't address this, like ruin will come. And then it did. So that regret of not trusting intuition, not trusting instincts. Like, yes, making it right in the end. Redistribution of wealth, maybe. But a lot of unnecessary suffering. Burden. And I think that's one of those, like, people need to be really careful about romanticizing and glorifying things like resiliency and strength and whatnot. Because I think a lot of trauma survivors, myself included, get really sick of people glorifying those things because, like, what was the other option? What other option was I given than to survive at the expense of my nervous system? And people say things like, oh, well, God gives you only what you can handle. The people who got more than what they can handle are not with us anymore. Either by external means or unfortunately their own. And people are very resistant to having those uncomfortable moments of, you know, I made a mistake. I made a really costly mistake that caused a lot of unnecessary burden, a lot of unnecessary grief, and I cannot take it back. I don't know if I can even make it better. I don't know if I even want to apologize because it feels hollow. And I'm going to try to do something. Don't know if it's enough, but it'll be something. And I think that's a lot more sincere than just the toxic positivity of like, you're so strong. And it gets into the spiritual bypassing too. Of the, like, God only gives you what you can handle. Nope. Trauma's real. Trauma and abuse are real. Those are in excess of what you can handle, like, by definition. So where is this all headed? Because this has been a pretty heavy storyline. I do feel some hope with the rainbow and the sunshine and everything. So where's this headed? Because hope can be hard to find in situations like this. And there can be a lot of resentment, a lot of anger, and those are valid. I don't think anybody has any kind of business telling you how long you should be angry for, that you don't get to feel resentment. They're part of the normal emotional experience. If we skip over those too soon, they don't get processed. So tell me more about the direction this is headed. We've got a couple of them. Is that 3? No, that's 2. Leaving home in a new reality. Sometimes the world shifts so deeply that the only choice is to move with it. When the land beneath your feet no longer feels stable, movement becomes survival and opportunity. The old structures are crumbling and new possibilities are emerging. You are a co-creator of the future. Focus your energy on the world you wish to create. We're just talking about that. Not the one you are leaving behind. So I think that speaks more to a couple of points that I was just saying. Taking the time to feel your emotions. Because no, you don't want to focus entirely on the past. Like, you don't want to get stuck there. But if you don't take the time to process just what occurred, either because you're not being given the opportunity to have some time to process, like more than a weekend, like some actual time in between major life events, or avoidance is a very real thing when it comes to trauma. It has a way of cropping up at very inconvenient junctures in your life. And even if you're not able to address it immediately, process it immediately, put it on the priority list for when you are able. Because life be lifin'. You can only do so much as that candle pops. It gets it. And leaving home, it's kind of, I think that's another thing people will glorify, is repairing what was. And sometimes it's just time to move on, which can be a very difficult decision. And you can't heal in the environment in which you were harmed. That is something that sounds cheesy and simple, but it's something I really stand by through all I've learned through therapy and things like that. Chaos, yeah. It can leave you in that chaotic mental swirl. I'm a magnet for trouble. It's not my fault I leave a trail of mayhem behind me. It's interesting. Because this is like somebody not taking accountability for the chaos that they cause, not the chaos that they find themselves in. Because, again, trauma is real. That's one of those things I don't feel like we co-create, we ask for. It's something that we're not giving people enough credit for subjecting others to their free will. Because sometimes it is their fault that they're leaving a trail of mayhem behind them. But they'll have these like rationalizations of, well, I had to feed my family, so I had to exploit everybody else so that I can make more money. No, there are other ways to do these things. They're just hard. It's like somebody cooking the books or something and justifying, like, well, I had major medical debt or something that I had to take care of, and so I did this like embezzlement or this fraud or whatever, and therefore it's now shutting down the entire business. How's that my fault? You were the one that did it. You made choices like a grown-up, and now you're not taking accountability like a grown-up. And it causes people to leave, of course. But I feel like accountability will be applied. And I feel like that might be where this High Priestess is stepping in. They're taking accountability for their own, no, I didn't act when I should have. And that sucks. And there's no way to take it back. And I'm acting now with, what do they say in Call of Duty? Extreme discrimination? Something like that. That sounds right. I haven't played Call of Duty in a while. So what about this chaos? Oop, there we go. My nose is awfully runny. Jeez. What's blooming? Wheel of Fortune. The Magician in reverse. Can't remember her name. Ten of Pentacles. And the Fool in reverse. Interesting. So the Wheel of Fortune, I mean, that's things changing. You can also think of it as like the Wheel of Karma. But the Magician in reverse, that's a manipulator. And I'm kind of feeling that at that third layer. Like the people who own the, I don't know, private equity firm that was going to buy the theater. Their tricks aren't working anymore. I feel like the High Priestess, just that one move, it shifted everything. It shifted the Wheel of Fortune. Ultimately, I think in favor of the greater good, the way this seems. Because that's the Green Lantern, all of the Green Lanterns. But there's some non-starter. Was there a change of power that was planned? I'm kind of getting that. Because Harley Quinn, she was on a completely different track before she met the Joker in Arkham. And I can't exactly remember, but I think, like, they got into a relationship, which big no-no, doctor to patient, and he gaslit her. Like, emotionally manipulated, all of the things, and ultimately she gave up her career and became Harley Quinn. I might have to dig into that in the next reading, because it's like there's more layers to this. It's like a lotus flower, just layer after layer, kind of blooming. But some sort of either change of power that was supposed to occur, or this is the narrative. I think you or her are supposed to fit into that you don't. The crazy or the angry or whatnot. Could even be you owning your emotions. Because people will gaslight and dismiss and invalidate when it comes to anger in women. That's happened to me all my life. People not taking me seriously simply because I'm experiencing an emotion that they themselves experience. Men don't seem to acknowledge that anger is an emotion. I don't know if that's just a misunderstanding or just gaslighting. I don't know. Speaking very generally. But maybe owning that and kind of calling people out on, well, what am I supposed to feel? I'm just supposed to sit here and be demure and mindful while I'm being abused and plotted against? The normal, healthy reaction to that is anger. Because anger is the indication that a boundary has been crossed. And maybe that's some of the tricks that aren't working anymore. 'Cause maybe the High Priestess is going to step in and be like, yeah, obviously, if someone realizes at the last second that they were about to get unalived when they were supposed to have a prop knife, what do you expect them to feel? And then there's more voices and more voices, and people will start, defecting? And then a new picture can emerge, a new outcome can emerge. So whatever that example represents for you, I don't know. Theater, performance, drama. Toxicity. Yeah, I'd say so. It sounds pretty toxic to me. Might even use some stronger words than that. But a good song. Good album. Is that what it's called? Is it Toxicity? I think it is. I think it's the one that has the Hollywood sign on it. I'm trying to think of the lyrics. Eating seeds is a pastime activity. And seeds are new beginnings. So maybe this is a group that thrives on, I don't know, screwing with other people. I did use the example of private equity. So it's like, because private equity, let's try to combine those words, conjunct them. They take all the good things about small businesses and chew them up and spit them out. The capitalism machine. And they're really a scourge, and they maintain power. They maintain control. Maintain control. Say the full word. But I don't know. Tricky situation. I don't know if I have any advice other than staying grounded as per the usual. But staying grounded in your emotions, and that includes allowing yourself to feel and express things that others might consider a little bit more negative. But overall, I hope this helps. I hope this resonates, and if it doesn't, I hope the next one does. Thank you so much.